You have to start it. Hi guys, welcome. It's at ClickDo right now. We're about to talk about GDPR and what's all the buzz about GDPR. A lot of people are worrying about the GDPR, which is going to be effective from 25th of May. So in this webinar, I and Logesh are going to talk about what is GDPR, which is a general data protection regulation, which is going to come into effect. If you're operating a local business, if you're having a website, if you're doing email marketing, this is something you got to really know about it. If you're collecting people's data from the people who visit your website, you really got to know about it, because if you're collecting people's data, just say you had a form and you let them fill that, you got their details coming, how do you store them and what you're going to do with those data when you reach out to them? There are a lot of regulations that you got to be aware about with this GDPR new act which is coming into place, because if you don't follow this regulation and stick with right procedures and implement the right wording and what you're going to do with this data, or when you got business owners, customers, visitors data, you will be in trouble, right? So it's all about the management of the data of your customers and making sure you run a proper business, that they don't have to worry about the fact that they gave you their details, right? So in this webinar, you're about to learn everything about what you need to know about GDPR and how to be protected. And we try to give the information that you need to be aware of it, but of course you have to do your research, and if you want a consultation session, you can talk to us for further details. But in this webinar, you're about to get a good idea about the GDPR and how you need to act on it as soon as possible. So Logesh.
Yes, Fernando. So let us get started. So GDPR, and it is going to be in effect from 25th of May, right? And it's something which is huge that the European Union has decided to protect the residents' data, like which means any personally identifiable information, when it is collected, it has to be handled properly. So this is all GDPR says. But what GDPR does not say is, like, they're not saying you to shut down your e-commerce store, right? What they say is make sure the user has full control over his data because he is getting identified personally, right? So even before we start this, like getting deep into what is GDPR or how you collect your information, a lot of things like that, you should have one thing very straightforward. We are not attorneys or we are not any legal entity to comment about GDPR directly, right, guys? So what we have done is we went through the resources available on the internet to make sure we collect handful of valuable information, and we are going to present to you in this presentation, right? So make sure this is not any guarantee or this is not anything legal stuff to make sure you are 100% secure against GDPR. You're not like 100% compliant to GDPR, right? So this is just the facts which is getting collected to make sure you as a business owner has every fundamental thing ready before the GDPR is taken into position on 25th of May, right? So let us get started. So this is more common for people who have a website on the internet, right? So you have a contact form, you have your telephone number listed. So this is applicable for people who are more into digital marketing and like e-commerce kind of stuff, right? Even on the GDPR, printouts, like they have clearly mentioned that it is like electronic commerce. It was just mentioned in a single line, right? So let us get started. The first point is how the information of a person is collected, right? Say people will submit information on your contact form on the website. Say you would have received a phone call from a person looking for some service. Say at ClickDo, we get a lot of inquiries, a lot of phone calls that they want digital marketing services. Or if you're an orthodontist and you have a website and rank for orthodontists in London, definitely you will have a lot of inquiries flooding in, right? So if that is the case, this entire webinar is applicable for you, right? So let us see what are the like different ways that Facebook lead generation is also included and much more, right? So basically this is how the data is being collected about a user from that particular user, right? The next thing is how you store the data. So this has to be presented on your website, terms and conditions and privacy policy, right? So where you save the data, right? How it is being accessed by people, right? Are you storing it on a database on your web server, or are you using some kind of softwares like HubSpot to store the data, or do you use Excel sheets, or do you use a CRM inside your office to manage the data? This information should be given on your terms and privacy policy. And what data you collect, right? Say for example, if we get an inquiry at ClickDo, we just get their name, email, phone number, what is their business name, what their business has, like a Facebook profile or a Google business listing or things like that, right? So the reason behind this question is you have to collect only the data that you actually want, right? So you're not going to collect all the unwanted data, which makes no sense, right? So the less data that you collect about a user with which he can be personally identified, it is safer for you, right? So collect less data and meaningful data. That is what GDPR says according to our understanding. Next is how you use the data. Say for instance, if we are running an e-commerce store, right? So we are collecting the user's address, user's name, user's phone number, right? So basically these informations will be used by an e-commerce store to deliver a shipment or a courier, right? Or a package with which the products that he ordered on an e-commerce site will be delivered to his address, which he actually gives on the website of the e-commerce site, right? Say for example, can be shop.clickdo.co.uk, and say we are selling like printed t-shirts about the ClickDo brand, right? So this is what will be given, which will be used by the e-commerce store to process the shipments, right? So it again, say for example, when you're collecting lots of unwanted data, you're going to face the issues, right? Next thing is, you have to clearly declare in your terms and conditions and privacy policy, right, how you're going to reuse the data. Say for example, if you are getting hundreds of inquiry over this month, and if you are going to do a remarketing campaign in future, you should get the user's consent. If you are going to run an email campaign for them in future, you have to get the user's consent, right? And on top of all, here comes the tricky part. The user should have an option to export the data that is being collected by us, right? Say if you're collecting the name, email, and phone number of the user, yes, you should let the user export this information. Say if you are collecting some information like, say, if you're storing some information about the user, like what are the products that he has purchased on your website in the past, you should definitely allow the user to export the data, right? Then here comes another challenging part, right? So a user can request permanent deletion of data, like which is his data basically, right? So you should also provide an option to do this. So for example, he has made a couple of purchases on your site, right? So again, I'm speaking about e-commerce. He has made a couple of purchases, say like a couple of products on your site, and he has made some payments, right? So once he requests deletion of data, it doesn't mean that you have to delete everything, right? All you have to do is you have to delete his personally identifiable information. And still, say for example, you have invoices and a lot of other things on your web server, that is fine. But once he requests to delete your data, it should be removed from your storage where you have your data stored. And further, you should not communicate that person in the future, right? You should not send them email campaigns. You should not do a cold calling that you are an existing customer of us, or you should not do any kind of stuff like that, right? And what happens after a user requests deletion, right? Say you can have the data, but you should not utilize it. So you can have the invoice copies of the past sales, but you should not try to utilize the data to take any action, right? So on top of all, if a user visits your website, you should share information about how the cookies are being utilized on your website. Say, are you tracking them with Facebook remarketing? Are you tracking them with Google Analytics? Or are you tracking them for Google remarketing? And a lot of things will come under the pipeline, right? So these information should be given to the user right on top of the web browser, saying that by using this website, you agree to the cookie policy. And like this statement should be given on the header section, right? And the next is user consent, right? whatever I've said in that, like in this webinar during the start, you should get users consent using a tick box. And again, here there are a lot of malpractices possible. Say the tick box will be like automatically checked, right? So, or you don't get any consent from the user for the sign up, then it is going to be a problem, right? So a simple solution is have a small tick box at the bottom of the contact form to make sure user can give a tick mark there and give his consent or his or her consent to make sure they receive communication from your side, right? So this is mandatory, and this is what in a nutshell which can save you from this GDPR compliance. And the data policy, as usual, this should be presented on your terms and conditions and privacy policy, right? So you're going to define how you're going to collect the data and what you do with the data and how you store the data, and whether it is being shared with a third party or whether it is not being shared with a third party. Everything should be clearly mentioned on the terms and privacy page, right? So here, as a quick summary, like we have gone through so many points, right? So this has to be followed to make sure you are in accordance with the GDPR policies. At the same time, it doesn't mean that you should stop doing what you are doing, right? It means you can continue to do whatever you're doing. You can continue to send your email campaigns, you can continue to do remarketing campaigns, you can continue to track the users, but you should clearly define what you're going to do with the customer's data on your website terms and privacy page, right? So simple as that. So if you have any questions with this, you can drop an email to digital@clickdo.co.uk, and Fernando will add his input
Logesh.
now.
And I have some questions. If you to just to give some questions from a local business owner saying, right? So
Okay.
what's the procedure? The starting point would be, just imagine if it is just say it's a dentist, right? Because just imagine
Okay.
in the orthodontist industry, we have orthodontist, right? So a
Yes.
person goes and fill the form,
Okay.
and they send the data, right? They of course give the phone
Okay.
number, and of course inquire about what's the price for a orthodontic treatment, right? So
Okay.
what will be the starting point for an orthodontist website, or just say that's an example for them to
Okay.
what do they need to do, ticking boxes and everything, what consent they need to take,
Okay.
right? And how the implementation procedure could as of for now our knowledge should work. What would be the starting
Okay.
point for a
So the
website with just
starting point,
yeah.
yeah, say basically they will have a WordPress website, right? So the starting point is on their contact form, they should add two more checkbox. The first one should be by submitting this information on this website,
Mhm.
you agree that say like the salesperson or the receptionist or whoever it can be are authorized to call on such practice behalf, right? So that should be the first consent. And the second should be they agree, like it's again an optional checkbox, right? Say like if they are not agreeing, they should not tick it, right?
Okay.
So this is the very first step, adding a checkbox. And the
I
second thing is,
yeah.
yeah, and the second thing they should do is they should have a option on their website where the user can open and enter the information and request for permanent deletion or export of data,
You mean on
right?
the
So
email or on the website?
on the website,
On
so
the
this
website they should,
option,
yeah.
yeah, they should have an option to request permanent deletion of data, as well as they should have an option to export the information that is being collected by the practice.
Okay, those are the thing tech boxes. So every
Yes.
website should basically, every local business owner who's collecting people's data, in the sense like having a form for people to fill to inquire, should go on the same practice. They should integrate these valid wording with a tick box to, people to agree, give their consent to call them back, or else for follow up in the future. So those things have to happen. And what about the privacy policy and things, if you to mention, do we every website, is it compulsory to have a
Yeah, it
privacy
is.
policy website? Yeah.
It was already compulsory, right?
Yeah.
From now on, people are going to take it very seriously,
Yeah.
right? Because with GDPR in place, you have to define how the data is going to be utilized or like by the particular practice or a business owner,
Yeah.
right? So it has to be defined on how the data is going to be used. Right.
Okay.
So without that, it is going to be a tough scenario for everybody.
Okay, so basically people, and then how about what's the thing, like just imagine what is now we're gonna do, like we in ClickDo, we had thousands of subscribers, right? So
Yes.
if we now, because they literally subscribe through I think
Yes.
a MailChimp, they're giving their
Okay.
email and the name. So when even
Okay.
right now when we publish a blog post, they get a newsletter going to them because they subscribe, because we had a thing, put your name and details to subscribe to our blog post, latest information.
Yes.
So
Yes,
so
that's
now we
true.
have that data. So what are we going to do for that one? Should we stop
Okay, here
sending,
that
or
is no. You should not stop sending email campaigns. Basically, what you do is when people subscribe, did
yeah
they use double opt-in or a single opt-in? See, when I say double opt-in, people submit the data and they click submit. Say they enter the data and click submit, and
yeah
then they receive an email, like with the consent. Like you have, like you tried to sign up for ClickDo latest blog post. Kindly confirm by pressing the link below. Right. So if that is called as a double opt-in. So if that is the case, we don't want to hesitate about anything and can go forward and send the email campaigns, provided the campaign's email footer has an option to unsubscribe.
unscribe, right? Okay, I think that's the
Right.
procedure in MailChimp. I think that's like the default for anybody who's using it. Once they
Yes.
subscribe, they get an email stating still to double opt-in.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's true. Because the double opt-in is the safest way.
yeah, double opt-in is
Right?
the
Because
safest. Yeah,
people
right?
show interest
Yeah.
and they accept it, and then we start sending information to them. Again,
Ah,
there's
yeah.
no point in sending email campaign to a user who has no interest.
Yeah, of course,
Right?
that's the case, right? So yeah,
Yes.
guys, you heard it. So basically, if you got the double opt-in on your email, so when you're collecting the people's data for the subscribers, it's of course, as of for the now, what the data says, it's fine, right? But of course, then again, you do your research more. The regulations can change any time. As of for now, it's actually like that when you're doing the webinar. So that's fine. So if you're a local business owner who's collecting people's name, email address, phone number, you need to have those check boxes that people can tick and give the okay, their full consent that you can contact them. Or should you delete their data after the first time of contacting them? Or else do they give you full authority to do it for anything, right? So you better be having all those tick boxes. That's what's going to be, that's what I, in the most practical manner that I feel, if on a website, if you are having those forms and the boxes that people can leave their information, just don't ask it only, just have those ticking boxes for them to get full approval, get approval for everything you want. Like literally ask them, guys, can I send you this? Can I do this? Can I do that? Right? And if they say yes, they give you the authority, right? So then you're safe in the thing. So this is the way. Even if you have just a number dropping a button, like if you drop the number, like if you go to ClickDo, right, you should ask literally people, can I call you back as a fact of to discuss about the thing. So if they tick yes, you call it. So that's the safest thing. So this is the integration as a local business owner. You're looking according to fall safe with the regulations which is coming. You got to think about that one, and you do your research. You talk about it. You can talk to us to get general ideas and implementation procedure. What you want to be implemented, and of course our web services team can implement it to you. Again, you talk to your lawyer, do your research as a business owner, because you could be in the medical industry, you could be in the legal industry, right? So you got to be doing that thing, and it's about asking the right question to get the approval and the full consent from the people whom you're getting the data from. That's this GDPR. And also for more information, of course, Logesh, what's the website they should be going to read? What is their official website that they can read further about the GDPR?
Yeah, they can actually just Google search GDPR and they can find a lot of resources there.
Yeah, and of course, if you say GDPR, you can literally find like database is this European ORB website is there, EU GDPR information portal, right? You guys can of course go and read that as well, get a good idea about that one, get full understanding for that thing, and then you can of course okay, is it the website eugdpr.org? Is it the website?
But I'm not sure about it.
You're not sure about it, right? So guys,
Yeah.
do your research about on the Google, and of course go there and then you can of course get the information and try to find your valid sources and read more about those information, and you can learn more. So if you have any questions, as we said, drop an email to jill@clickdo.co.uk, hit us up, send an email if you want to talk more things. And but of course, if you want the implementation to done, it's a separate service that you got to consider after proper researching and what you want to ask. And all I can say is, like, get ready, it's coming soon. Be ready with the thing, and then you're all safe and the stuff. Have the implementation. If you have in a local business or else whatever business website you're collecting data, put those approval seeking approval taking wordings on your website, and then get people's foot approval. Then you're good to do it, because they provide information, their data, approving to for that one. So that's the thing. Thanks for guys for listening to this webinar, and of course, for the information, you can get in touch with us. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.